Hey, welcome back. I can't speak for everyone on the planet, but individually, just speaking on behalf of myself, I really hate being wrong. Unfortunately, I am from time to time, and sharp eyed viewers will pick that up in this video. I actually make a mistake, and Michael Hangartner, our guest on this video, goes right along with me. Basically, Michael and his partners have been doing a very long cross country that we're following them on that trip. But I said in this interview that we first spoke in Friday when he was in Oregon. Actually, it was Thursday when he was in Oregon. So when we shot this, it was Saturday afternoon. They were on their way home. I said they had made their way all the way from Oregon to Alabama in 2 days. It was actually 3. I just want to be honest with that. They did a remarkable job. This trip has been incredible, and I'm really looking forward to meeting up with them in Sebring when they get to their destination. But I just want to be honest with the viewer. I screwed up. It's 3 days, not 2 days. Let's go talk to Michael. Michael Hangartner, we spoke about your upcoming cross-country adventure Friday morning. It's now, and you were in Oregon picking up 2 Vans RV-12s to bring back to Sebring, Florida for a flight school. You are currently at Jack Edwards in Alabama, and it's only early afternoon on Saturday. You are making some amazing time. I actually had clocked you at one point. You were at 9,400 feet doing 150 knots in an RV-12.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? It's amazing what you can get those RVs up to with the right circumstances. I know on the last trip, when we did this before, bringing an RV from Oregon to Florida, at one point we got up to 184 knots over the ground, which I feel like has to be some kind of record. But it's amazing what a 65 knot tailwind over Texas will do for you.
Yeah, it's nice to be going in the direction of the wind, not the other way.
That's always preferable. And we've gotten pretty lucky this trip where we haven't had any significant headwinds. So that's been nice.
That is excellent. And by the way, just for the viewers' edification, you sound like you're in a stadium of some sort. Where are you right now?
Yeah, well, beggars can't be choosers. I'm actually in a conference room at Gulf Air Services here in Gulf Shores. So
I've actually been there. It's a neat place. AOPA did a fly-in there years ago, and I spent a few days there. It's an awesome place. I had a friend who did biplane rides out of there at one point. I'm a little envious. Jack Edwards, right there on the barrier of the Gulf Coast. What a fantastic destination.
yeah, yeah, it's a wonderful place. I mean, and there have been so many of those along the way. You get to see so many different types of places when you fly GA, and you never know exactly where you're going to end up, but it's always a lot of fun.
Well, and on day one, if my calculations are correct, you did about 708 nautical miles. Today, you've done over 1,000, and you're well on your way back to Florida. I mean, that's pretty amazing. From the northwest corner of the United States to the southeast corner in 2 days in an LSA. It really is possible.
It is. It is. And as I've said, they're incredible cross country machines. Not just because, as we spoke about, they do decent speed over the ground, but also the range is wonderful. I mean, you're able to go for fairly long legs, about 3.5 hours before you need a fuel stop. And they're comfortable. Honestly, I've been in one now for a couple days straight and still enjoying every minute of it.
That is just fantastic. Now, you started out in Oregon with the mountains, and the pictures I've seen are just gorgeous with snow-peaked mountains and everything. And now you're down in the swampy south where it's humid and hot and summer has started. What sticks with you in your mind? Because I did notice y'all had the wherewithal to do a circle over the Hoover Dam as you left Vegas to check the flights. But what's been most memorable to you on this trip?
We did circle the Hoover Dam, and I'm so glad we asked Control if we could do that, because that was one of the most incredible parts of the trip. Honestly, seeing the dam from the air was fantastic. But there's there's so much. It's almost been overwhelming. I mean, as we started out, the mountains in Oregon that we were passing through, all those snow-capped peaks of 14,000 feet or more. It's just incredible to fly so near to those. And then as we pass through Nevada, it's just so much open desert. I mean, you don't realize how unpopulated large swaths of the US are. And you just feel like you're seeing things that so few people will, ever have the chance to see. You really do feel lucky as a pilot. And I mean, Nevada was a lot of fun and one of the most memorable states, I think. We were able to spend a night in Las Vegas, which was a good time. And from there on, past the Hoover Dam, we saw the Grand Canyon by air. I've never done that before, and that was absolutely breathtaking.
That's a big hole in the ground, isn't it? I mean, that
It
took
is
a
a
while to
big
build.
hole in the
It's
ground.
something.
And even from the air, it looks like a big hole in the ground. I mean, I'd seen it from land before, and I thought that it might look smaller from the air. It really doesn't. Somehow it looks even more impressive. Uh,
Well, one thing I'm curious about, one thing I'm curious about, if you don't mind, you just mentioned 14,000-foot peaks coming out of Oregon, but you weren't at 14,000 feet, were you? The peaks were
we
actually
were not.
above you in some cases.
Yes, yes, we remained below 14,000 feet. I would stress that. We don't carry oxygen.
That's got to be a pretty remarkable experience to be flying through these mountains where the peaks are above you and just this majestic view. And as you say, these are things you just can't see from the ground. Only aviation provides this opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we got very lucky, really the entire trip, but especially when we were in Oregon and flying through those peaks. Fortunately, there wasn't a cloud in the sky anywhere, so we didn't have to worry about the potential of not being able to fly over the mountains given the ceilings or fly through them. So that worked out really well. And honestly, the weather the whole way has been just phenomenal. I mean, it's amazing how you can cross the entire United States and not run into any inclement weather that really causes a delay.
I have been impressed. You did some great planning and this has really worked out well. Now, I did a little bit of math based on an average of say 550 per gallon for 100 low lead. And of course, you don't have to be using 100 low lead because you've got road taxes. You can use fuel from the Wawa or the racetrack. But if I'm not mistaken, with your fuel economy on a trip of this distance, you're talking about less than $700 worth of fuel to move two people across the entire country in 2 days.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah, it doesn't get more. It doesn't get much more fuel efficient than the RV-12. I mean, it's fantastic.
That part just blows me away because you've got the ability to stop wherever you want, look at whatever you want, see sights, as you say, as the mountains and the Grand Canyon and the Hoover Dam and these vast expanses of undeveloped land underneath you that go on for miles and miles, all because you're in a general aviation aircraft cruising along a couple thousand feet above the surface, but you're still cranking along at sometimes you're averaging, it looks like maybe 115 miles an hour. But as we said, you've gotten up as high as 150 knots. You've covered an enormous amount of ground very quickly.
We have. I mean, it's been impressive. It's been a whirlwind, honestly, to go so far in just a couple days. It was just so much to see and a lot of great memories.
And you've stopped in major destinations like Las Vegas. You stopped just outside Vegas. You've stopped in some small non-towered fields in uncontrolled airspace. Is there a favorite stopover right now for any particular reason?
Oh boy, a favorite stopover. I mean, this airport is fantastic, like you said. Really enjoying Gulf Shores. We stayed at San Angelo in Texas last night, and that had a wonderful FBO, great airport. Las Vegas was a lot of fun. It's It's great because when we get up in the morning and we start into our flight, we really don't know where we're going to end up on any given night. In fact, we're careful not to make plans or reservations ahead because then you're setting yourself up for the potential of get theiritis and creating the wrong kinds of incentives where you might want to make a choice that's less than safe. And so we always wait until we arrive where we want to stay for the evening before we make any kind of reservations or anything like that. So until we get there, we really don't know. And last night we had planned to go as far as Midland, Texas, which is a bit to the northwest of where we eventually ended up in San Angelo. But we were making good time. Our fuel endurance was good. We realized we had about another hour's worth of fuel. And so we decided to press forward a bit and stay at San Angelo. So it's a bit like, I know you're a musician. It's a lot like jazz, these long cross countries. I mean, you have a basic template as far as what you want to do, but at the same time, there's room for a lot of improv. And so you've got to be open for that.
You have two pilots per aircraft. So are you switching off during a leg, or does one of you fly one leg and another one flies the next? How do you do a division of duties?
Yeah, typically we have been alternating legs. So, someone will start out in the morning, the other pilot will take over for the next leg, and so on. And we've been averaging, 3 or 4 legs every day.
Yeah, you've been making really impressive progress towards your destination the whole time. And I do like that you don't set a goal for the day. You base it more on how are things going. And if I'm not mistaken, this has almost all been in daylight hours. You haven't really done any night flying, have you?
We haven't, and that was a conscious decision, actually. Last night in Texas, we had thought, it's the air is smoothed out finally because it does in the evening after a very turbulent afternoon. And we thought, we could go a couple hours into the night, but you just always have to go back to the risk matrix and try to decide what are the risks that are really worth taking on. And we'd already had a long day of flying, so there was that potential for fatigue. It wasn't a very well lit area in Texas. It was
Yeah, West Texas is a little barren.
exactly. So we just thought it would be most prudent to stop for the night and continue on in the morning.
And the RV-12s you're flying are technically advanced aircraft with glass panels, really impressive aircraft from an instrumentation point of view. Are you flying with an autopilot, or are you hand flying the entire way?
Both, actually. It's been about 50-50, at least for myself. But that tends to be what I've seen with the other guys too. Um, I mean, it's good to use the autopilot because these are such long legs that we've been flying, and so it can be nice to be able to kick back and relax a bit during a flight. So the autopilot is nice for that and to just monitor everything. But at the same time, I mean, the reason that I initially learned how to fly is because I love flying, and so I hate to leave it on autopilot for too much of the time. It's good to keep your skills sharp and do some of the navigating on your own.
I'll tell you, as an observer, you've got me really wanting to fly an RV-12 now. I've never had any time in one. I've seen them up close. I mean, I've touched one, but I've never actually piloted one. When you get back here, I might have to impose on you to go flying in one just to see what it's like to go around the pattern, because this thing sounds amazing. You've done so well on this. The offer stands that I made the last time we talked. When you get back to Sebring, I'll meet you down there. We'll grab lunch. I just got to hear this story in greater detail. I'm so amazed at the adventure y'all are having. 4 guys, 2 airplanes across the entire country in just a couple days for not a lot of fuel, not a lot of money, and the bang for the buck factor has to be just off the charts.
Oh, it is, as well as just the fun for the buck factor. I mean, if that's a but it's just a great way to travel the country and to see America in an entirely new light. And absolutely, when I do, I mean, you can just cut this part out. Totally lost that train of thought. Oh.
No, we're getting back to Sebring.
Yes, but absolutely, when you do have a chance to visit us at Sebring, I would love to take you up in the RV. We can do some maneuvers, take a couple trips around the pattern. I'd love to show you just how much fun of an aircraft it is.
I'm sold. I'll do it. This is absolutely worth a lunch. I'm going to up that spending limit up to $10. Just anything you want up to $10. Michael, thank you so much. I don't want to take a lot of your time because I know you're on your way. You've sent me some great pictures, and I've been tracking every leg of your flight just to see how it goes. Thank you so much for letting us tag along. This has been a really interesting, vicarious thrill for all of us, too. So I'll see you in Sebring shortly. Enjoy the rest of your flight, and thank you so much for joining us here on MadPropsAero to tell you the story. It's just fantastic.
Sounds great, Jamie. We've had a lot of fun, and I'm glad that you've been able to follow along, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Fantastic. And we'll get a smaller room when we're in Sebring that doesn't have that echo effect. Or maybe you've spent extra money to get that. I'm not sure. We'll talk about it later.
Thanks, Jamie.
Catch you next time, buddy.
Trying all night to get it on my dial, I can't get no rest. I'm trying to find the song I heard last night with my baby. It's the best I've heard that song 1,000 times. Could you play it again for me right now? I wanna hear that song that makes me jump right up and shout out loud. Hey mister, would you play that song again? Hey mister, would you play that song again? When I hear it on the radio, makes me feel so good. Hey mister, would you play that song again? I try so hard, I do my best to get through to you, long distance operator. Please get me someone at the station. I've got to hear that song. I can't be hanging on the line. I've got to go out soon, so please, I'm running out of time. Hey mister, would you play that song again? Hey mister, would you play that song